Okay, I'm pretty sure my camera is sideways and I was gonna get up and adjust it, but as you can see, I can't really do that right now. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another vlog. I'm feeling a lot better than I have been in the past couple of videos, which feels very nice. I managed to do a workout this morning, which definitely helped. As much as I hate to admit it, I think part of the reason that I was just feeling so not like myself last week was that I lifted once and didn't do any other physical activity because I was just feeling so bad and I was so stressed of all of the life things going on, but I'm definitely feeling much better. Today is Monday. When we do fundraisers at my work, my boss usually has us be off the following work business day, so I'll go back tomorrow. I did my workout first thing in the morning, and I am just kind of relaxing. I like to, after I do a workout, just kind of chill. I like to pet the cats and do other things, so I ordered my groceries, paid some bills, did some other stuff, and I've been mostly just watching YouTube. I have been on a Catherine Karras obsession. I'll find a creator that I really love and I'll kind of just like watch their stuff repeatedly. She is one of my like go-tos, I would say. Okay, I put her on the big TV and I've just been watching her all morning. So that's kind of how my morning has been. I have been reading some spooky books that I would like to prioritize for this month. I have about 6 or 7 dark gothic fantasy romances on my list that I want to knock out, and I just have really scratched the surface on them. If you watched my last week's vlog, I started one of them, but I have several audiobooks that I need to read as well. So that's kind of going to be my focus for the week, or the rest of the month really is like maintaining my routine and getting those books read. Allowing myself to game all weekend and read graphic novels has been just very restorative. I struggle with burnout because I think like a lot of people, it's hard to acknowledge that something you're doing is not working, especially if you recognize that you're in a burnout and you're trying to do everything you can to make it better and all of those things just aren't working. Brainstorm of new ways. And so I think gaming and reading all of those graphic novels really like changed the energy and really help. And I'm just ready to especially swim. I haven't been able to swim for the past couple of weeks, but I'm ready to get back into it. It's just so healing. It's so lovely. The rest of the day, I think I'm going to probably try to read and continue watching Catherine. I might try to play some Dreamlight Valley. There's been a ton of new updates that I haven't played, and I was doing stuff yesterday and really enjoying it. Task-based, quest-based things just work so well for my brain, especially if I need to just turn my brain off. That's why I love games like World of Warcraft so much, because WoW has been around for like 30 years and there's been so many expansions, and so there's so much questing and world stuff to do that I can just like shut my brain off and follow the tasks, and it's very satisfying. Same with games like Power Wash Simulator. As much as I love games like Coral Island and Stardew Valley and games like that, they can be very overwhelming, and I get a little bit of like decision fatigue from them. Last year, there was a spooky game that came out that I started to play, and it's a farming sim, and it has like magical creatures and stuff, and I really love the theme and the graphics and all of that, but you're like setting up your own farm, and then you go into like a fae realm and you have a farm there, and that is just very overwhelming to me because there's so many choices and so many things to be done. I had to like set that down because it just stresses me out so much. But games like Disney Dreamlight Valley and WoW, games like that are like really quest-based and you kind of have a linear path, are very helpful, relieving stress and stuff. So I probably going to read a little bit, play a little bit of Disney Dreamlight Valley, and spend the rest of my day relaxing. So Happy Tuesday, friends. My camera's about to die, so hopefully I can do this little clip quickly. I thought we could talk about the book that I just finished while I put on these clip-on earrings. I eventually want to have a full stack all the way up. I have previously had 10 various piercings on my body at one point, but my body doesn't take super well to piercings. In the meantime, before I can get it done, because you know, money, I decided to get some clip-ons so that I can give it a shot and see if I like how it looks. So we have about 12 different pairs here, and I thought I could do a cute little stack while we talk about the book that I just finished. I just finished the Society of Lady Scoundrels, or whatever, Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. I finished it while I was at work, and I freaking loved this novel so much. I think I spoke in my last video about really liking these historical fantasies and really liking the romances in them and finding myself, oh, my camera's dying, finding myself laughing and really enjoying myself. Okay, I thought we could run back that clip because I don't think I was making a ton of sense during it because I was focused on doing the earring thing. I've had the earrings in for about 30 minutes and I would say that my ears are adjusting. Like I said, my ears are very sensitive and these ones are quite bulky and heavy. I have realized that like my ears cannot do any more than 3, which is fine. Obviously, like the weight difference and stuff is gonna change when I have actual piercings, but I want to just like feel this out. I want to be into jewelry so bad. Like as you can see, I put on my 2 necklaces and I want to wear my rings, but sometimes they're just kind of a sensory nightmare, so I want to like train myself to wear them more and get used to them. And so earrings, all of that, I'll keep you updated on my clip-on journey, but they might be the move from here on out depending on how heavy and stuff. Like I know you can adjust the back, and I adjusted a little bit because they were literally squishing my ears. Like I had lines and stuff from where they were like completely destroying my ears because they obviously have like the clip-on portion of it where it's like, anyways. So what I was saying was that I finished Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels and I loved it. It's so good. The intimacy between the hero and the heroine, the banter is fantastic. The hero is very into the heroine, and the heroine is kind of a little bit like not concerned with him really. Like she has these feelings for him, she's definitely attracted to him, but she's much more concerned about other things and doesn't really give him the time of day, and it's very fun. Their relationship is sweet and their intimate moments are sweet and it's funny and fun, and I'm like desperate to read more books. I think there's 2 other books in this series. I need some recommendations of other books like it. I loved the intimacy between the characters, not just like the intimate scenes, but the intimacy between them, how they showed up for each other, how they stood up for each other, how they tested each other. Like I loved it a ton. So very happy with that one. I'm also about 50-ish% of the way through Anathema. It's a fantasy romance, light on the romance. We've had very little interaction between the characters at this point. It's over 700 pages. It's about a heroine who gets taken into the Fey realms. She was living in like this Puritan society. She was an outcast and now she's in the Fey realms because she's supposed to help them defeat a big bad, and she possibly has some ties to like the curse and curing the hero of this curse thing going on. Not really a ton has happened, I'm gonna be completely honest, as far as the relationship goes. They just started talking to each other within the last like 30 pages and they've been separated pretty much the whole time. Like the first 50% of the book was very much set up for the heroine's world, the hero like figuring out how to break the curse and why he needs her and all of that. So they've had pretty minimal conversation, and so I'm not feeling a particular fancy towards the romance. I don't really love either of the characters. We've done a decent bit setting up their worlds, but I wouldn't say they're actually the most compelling characters themselves. The heroine is, in my opinion, one of the annoying fantasy romance archetypes of, like, even if the world that they got kidnapped from is awful and terrible, and like they arguably, if they were to go back, would have no place in that world and they would be exiled or killed, they still refuse to listen to reason or listen to the other characters from the new realm trying to convince them of anything. And like, he didn't even kidnap her, he saved her, and she's still like very resistant to everything, and she's like, I have to get back to my sister, even though she pretty much knows her sister is dead. Like, she basically saw her sister die and she refuses to admit it, and that's just a really frustrating way for authors to keep the characters apart and not have the heroine feel permanently settled in the new realm, which is frustrating. Like, maybe we have a character who like genuinely loves their life, they have their own business, they have all of these grand amazing things, and they get kidnapped and taken into a new realm to save that realm, and they have a life they love, like a life that they genuinely want to go back to, not just minor inconveniences that we know are going to resolve themselves. That's the kind of like tension and stakes that I want, not just like half-assed stakes to keep the characters apart, if you know what I mean. Feeling a little bit hesitant about it. I was enjoying it at first. It's quite dark. It's a little bit gruesome, a little bit gory, and so there's some darker topics happening. I have read something else by this author that I think is also a dark romance. I didn't love it, and I'm not loving this. I am hoping that the 50% mark on will improve. We will surely see. So that's it. That's the update. As you can tell, I'm feeling much better today. My mood has been improving over the past couple of days. It's been feeling amazing out. I've been able to have the windows open and just enjoy the fresh air, which has definitely helped. I still haven't been able to go swimming. I thought my period was done, but it wasn't. I've been bleeding for like 3 weeks, which is incredibly frustrating. Prior to that week break, was doing workout every single day and it felt good, but I'm trying not to push myself if I'm not feeling it, you know? If I'm not feeling a workout, I don't want to push myself to do a workout. So that's kind of the mentality that I have. Prior to, I wasn't pushing myself, like I actually wanted to do them every day. I was in the habit of doing them every day, and it wasn't like strenuous doing them every day. But now I'm not feeling it today, maybe, possibly, unless I end up feeling it tomorrow or later. That's it. I'm feeling much better. I'm happy that I'm feeling better, and I'm just hoping that the rest of the week my mood stays the same. So I'm gonna tackle the rest of the week as it comes. Yesterday I managed to get 2 videos posted, scheduled, edited, all of that was out of order. One of which went live this week, but I'm feeling good. All of my videos until like December are filmed, so all I have to do is do these vlogs, and that feels good. So that's enough rambling. I've been talking for entirely too long. I will keep you updated on the feeling of the clip-ons and how I'm feeling about all of my books and stuff, all the important girly things. So we'll talk later.
All the writers will get a kick out of this one. I'm already getting mixed feelings about this. Neither is committing to someone.
I did play the book right when it came out, but ever since then, not really. Versace makes the front good. Much more enjoyable. On a 12, that just
good stuff. You like purple, right?
So I am 20% of the way through An Education Malice. This is written by the same author that wrote Dowry of Blood, the like vampire romance. And this one is basically about 2 points of view. You have Carmilla and Laura. Laura she's a freshman at a private all-girls college, I think. She has dreams of being a priestess or a priest, but she is taking writing courses, and she gets accepted into this very prestigious writing course, poetry course, from this teacher named De Fontaine, something like that. And she's known as being a hard ass and being very particular. And then Carmilla is a senior, I think, who is also in the course, and she has a relationship with De Fontaine. Laura is interested in Carmilla, reluctantly. Carmilla views Laura as a bit of a threat for Fontaine's attention, and so she's pretty nasty to her. And this, I think, is about a student-teacher relationship and what that does to your life and what it's like not just sexy and fun sort of thing, like the dark side of it, very much like, Dracula's brides, or like the dark side of dating Dracula or being with Dracula. So I'm enjoying it so far. Like I said, I'm 20% of the way through, and it very much seems like Fontaine is setting them up as rivals for her affection. Laura is not really all that interested in Fontaine. She's more interested in Carmilla, and so she's interested in the affections of Fontaine, and she thinks she's beautiful, and like the attention is intoxicating, but she's not really into her, whereas Carmilla is obsessed and wants to have a real relationship with Fontaine. Like, she's just giving her scraps. And Carmilla wants to have a full relationship, and so I'm sure we're going to explore the power imbalance and preying on people's vulnerabilities and all of that, while doing it with amazing, slightly gothic writing. So far, the writing is really standing out to me. I am listening to the audiobook of it, and it's very similar to the Dowry of Blood one, where it's just very elegant, very sophisticated, gorgeous. This takes place at a New England private school. And so we have like the leaves changing and the beautiful atmospheric academia energy to it, and I'm really liking it. I'm sure we're going to get into the pretty dark aspects. The story itself is the audiobook is only 8 hours. I listen at 2 times speed, so I should be able to knock it out today. I'm not as gripped as I was by Dowry of Blood, but this is an interesting storyline. I've read tons of student-teacher stories that tackle disgusting aspects of it. My Dark Vanessa is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm definitely interested in the topic, and I'm liking it so far. I should be able to finish it or get close enough by the time I'm done, and then we'll talk about it, and then I'm going to get back into reading Anathema. I am like 62-ish% of the way through, and I'm kind of over it. The romance is heating up and getting fun, but the story itself I'm kind of over. So I ended up finishing the audiobook for An Education in Malice. Like I said, it's a pretty short audiobook. I read it over 4 hours at 2+ speed. I did not love this one. Not nearly as much as I enjoyed A Dowry of Blood, and just not really as a story in general. I think it had some good starts to conversations around the cycle of predation and vampirism and student-teacher relationships and power imbalance. It had the workings, but it didn't dive really into it. The biggest flaw in the story, in my opinion, was that the characters, about 60% of the way through the story, seemed to lose their core character motivations and the things that made them who they are as characters. I feel like in the first 50%, you kind of understood them as characters very strongly. Their sense of identity was very strong, and they didn't fit necessarily into like archetypes, but you could understand the decisions that they were making. And it wasn't like a lack of nuance. It wasn't like, well, now there's just a nuance to their characters that wasn't there originally. And the story itself seemed to lose the plot a little bit. At the beginning, I felt like maybe I was reading into it, but maybe I felt like it was tackling all of those things, and it was going the way of Dowry of Blood. And then halfway through, it lost a lot of spark and sort of just became a romance story between two characters in college, and one of them just happens to be a vampire. I think a lot of my expectation was missed, and maybe that's my bad, having the expectation of a Dowry of Blood and sort of expecting the story to go a certain way and be saying a certain thing. Maybe that's like my bad for that. Even with the story that it felt a little bit flat, and like I said, all of the characterizations just went nowhere, and the conversations that I wanted the story to have, that it set up to have in the beginning, just didn't really go anywhere. But it was an okay vampire story, I would say. It's a quick listen, and the writing starts out very beautiful, and either I got used to it or the writing fell off in the middle, but the writing is not quite Dowry of Blood level writing. So overall, I think it was just a disappointment of a story, unfortunately. That is that. And then the other book that I need to read, because it's due back from my library very soon, is Reign of Shadows and Endings. This has 10 people waiting for it. It just was a random audiobook that I came across. It's a fantasy romance. I'm pretty sure it's dark. The audiobook is 24 hours long, which is crazy. I'm pretty sure Brandon Sanderson's audiobooks are like that long. 24 hours for an audiobook with a book that doesn't have the best ratings is gonna be interesting. So I managed to finish Anathema last night, and I was not the biggest fan of this. Plot-wise, I could feel that the author was just waiting for the 80% mark to do something with the story. So it's split into 3 parts. The first part is setting up her world and the Fae world and all of that. Part 2 is her coming to the Fae world, learning her powers. Part 3 is like the big bad and all of that. And part 1 was interesting. Part 2 was not. It was boring and slow, and it's supposed to be like a training chapter, like training chapters, and we saw nothing. I don't know, it just wasn't written very well, and other than that, it was a lot of nothing. And then part 3 was just a ton of action for a good bit. Like, it was like 150 pages, and it was just all action. And I wish that the pacing had just been a little bit better. Didn't really love either of the characters. I liked the world most of all. I think there was a lot of room to do some cool stuff with the world that just wasn't really utilized. The characters themselves weren't very compelling. I feel like the hero was set up to be like a little bit obsessive, broody, tortured, and we just didn't get enough of him. I think there was very minimal interaction between the hero and the heroine until the end of part 2. And at the end of part 2, we just got all of the relationship building that we got in this book was just 100 pages of them locked in a cabin banging. And that's pretty much it. I don't know. I feel like this could have been a very good story, but none of the elements were strong enough for me to really love it, to like push it over the edge. I landed on a 3-star because, like I said, the part 1 and 3 were decent, but that middle chunk was just not good, and the more I thought about it, the more problems I found with the story. So it was fine. I don't think it needed to be 700 pages. I don't think I'm going to continue the rest of the series. I also got 8% of the way through Reign of Endings and something. It's a fantasy romance, and there are legacies who are children of the gods, and there are fae who are essentially created and bred to be life sources to the legacies. Sort of like the vampires and the Demphiers in Vampire Academy. The fae are just like there as toys, basically, and like life sources. And in the beginning of the novel, the heroine is attending a selection ball that happens every year or something. And it's the time for legacies that have come of age to choose their life source, and it's like a whole thing. She's been flying under the radar because obviously she doesn't want to be a life source. She ends up getting picked anyways after she has run in with the hero, and it's kind of unclear whether he intended to pick her originally or if it was like because he saw her sort of situation. I do believe that this is dual POV. I think there's 2 audiobook narrators, so we'll see, but we haven't gotten to his point of view yet. So he picks her. They have this like marking ritual which binds their life forces together, and from what I gather, the legacies have like powers and stuff, and they can use the fae life force to rejuice them, and so the fae are just like an energy source for them. The reviews for this one are not good. There's like an overwhelming number of 1 stars. Looking at the reviews, it's very typical to like what you would see from like a bully romance or a romance that has non-con in it. So I'm kind of reserving my judgment on that. If you've been around my channel for a long time, you'll know that I have been a dark romance reader for a long time, many years at this point. I've read all of the dark romances that people talk about, that people hate, the stories that people tend to talk about when they talk about how bad romance is, how bad dark romance is, because people seem incapable of separating fiction from real life and understanding that people read stories for different reasons, but that's a whole tangent for another time. That's not to say that I've enjoyed all of them, but that's not a plotline that I read that I'm like automatically against the story, and so I'm trying to like ignore those 1-star reviews and go in with trying to form my own opinion of it. There are a lot of 1-star reviews about the writing style not being great, the story being overly long for no reason and being slow, that I'm kind of keeping in the back of my head. But as far as like content, I don't really care to pay attention to those, really. And I also started Phantasma or something. I'm not very far into that one, so we'll talk about that later, but that's kind of what I've been reading. As far as what I've been feeling, I've been fine. I've mostly just been reading and watching Twitch and all of that. I am not feeling as like down as I have been, and I do need to make a Target run later for some household goods, and I know that they're doing a buy 2 get 1 free situation in books, so we might check out what books they have. So I had to return the Reign of Shadows and Endings because the audiobook is not great. So I ended up getting the ebook of it. I will read it at some point this month, but I'm currently reading Phantasma. Now, this is a dark fantasy romance. I know this was recently published by Book of the Month, and I think it's like making its rounds or whatever, but it seems to be kind of like a Carrie Maniscalco fantasy romance, which I have had mixed luck with Carrie Maniscalco. I've really liked the adult romance that she came out with last year or the beginning of this year. Really enjoyed that, but her stalking Jack the Ripper and like the other new adult Wrath of whatever, I didn't like those, but I've heard it compared to Carrie Maniscalco, so we'll see how I like it. But it seems to be following Ophelia, who is in New Orleans. I don't know when this is set, but it feels not present day, but her mother has recently passed away. They're necromancers, and she's gonna take over the family business. And she has a sister, and pretty much all we've seen is them performing the death rites for her mother. I'm only 23 pages in. I believe the main character has OCD. I'm seeing some OCD tendencies, like actual OCD, not like, oh, I have OCD, actual OCD tendencies, and that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen that in a fantasy romance, but I do know that this is like about a game or a competition or something. I think the main character's sister goes missing. She has to enter into a competition to save her. So like Caraval / Carrie Maniscalco type of deal. Both of which are very popular, neither of which I've really liked. So we'll see how I like this one. It is another long one. I think it's almost 500 pages. So it's a little bit of a long one. I do know that the Reign of Endings or whatever, that is also almost 700 pages. So kind of some long ones, but I am in the mood for some fantasy. I work in the morning tomorrow. I have a lot of like side bins and stuff that I need to knock out. My partner works this weekend, but we do have a Lorcana event on Sunday that we're going to be basically there the whole day. So my plan is to go to work tomorrow, get all of that stuff done, and then we can cozy up tomorrow night, read a ton, making some decent progress on all of the Halloween-y books that I wanted to read. I do have some audiobooks that I want to get to once I finish some audiobooks for some other videos, but they're also like fantasy romance situations. So that's the update. We'll talk later. I'm hoping that I come back with a big update about Phantasma, and I'm really liking it. Happy Friday, friends. Did we talk earlier this morning? I can't remember. I'm home from work for the evening. I have some video gaming on the TV. I did a workout even though I ate a meal before it that I really should not have eaten, and now I'm sleepy and my stomach hurts and I'm ready to nap. But I am 18% of the way through Phantasma. The heroine has like arrived at the location where the game is gonna take off, and this spooky place, and this world has like ghosts and stuff and poltergeists and a bunch of different things, and she's like run into a phantom and a magical ghost cat, and she had like a run-in with a monster in the catacombs. It's reminding me a little bit of the first Throne of Glass book, Throne of Glass, which is interesting, and I'm not hating it so far. It's not terrible. I am not completely convinced by all of it, and I don't think at this point we've met the hero unless the phantom that we met was the hero. But I'm not like loving it, but I'm not hating it. So I'm only 84 pages in, so we will probably talk again later when I have more thoughts on the book. But I spent the majority of my day listening to The Devil is a Marquess, which I talk about in one of my videos coming in November, but it was a 5-star. I thought I would just mention that because I want everybody to read it. If you like historical romance and you like Kerrigan Byrne, pick it up, please. It's so freaking good. But I'm still like riding the high of that book, and so it's gonna be hard for anything to beat that right now, I think. So
This is my other weapon. Weapon 1, weapon 2, it looks like. Maybe. Oh, maybe not. Longbow. Great sword. Okay, C and B. Let's do C and B.
last night and this morning I have been reading and watching all of my favorite Halloween movies. Right now I am watching Casper, which is kind of an underrated favorite. I think the relationship between Kat and Casper is so cute, and I thought about it a lot when I was a kid. I reblogged that one scene on Tumblr so freaking much when I was a teenager. I'm just enjoying myself rewatching all of my favorites from childhood. But I've also been reading. I got like a little under 200 pages into Phantasma. Sorry, I'm pulling glue from the tree that I used to have, the lit tree that I used to have right here off the wall. The heroine has made a deal with a ghost, who I'm assuming is the hero. She's like going through these trials. I'm not massively invested in the story. I wouldn't say that either of the characters are really compelling. The heroine, not a bad heroine, she just isn't very well like thought out and planned, I would say. Like her character and the way that she reacts in certain situations just don't really make a lot of sense. And we don't have a lot of like clear character work being laid out. Like I don't really understand how she reacts in some situations and then doesn't react in that same way in like other situations. It's definitely fast, it's accessible, it's fun, but it's not like my favorite thing that I've read. I'm having the same feelings about it as I did with like Caraval and stories like that, and I think it's just a lack of like clear development in really every aspect of the story. Like I don't really understand this world. Like we've been set up to have like ghosts and devils and people that are like that have magical abilities and humans and all of that, but there hasn't been like a super clear defining of the magic system in the world and like what people are and like what they can do. And so I think that leads a little bit to like a sense of distance from the story, and there's also no sense of stakes in the story because I don't really know anything about the world. I'm not really super connected to the characters, and so I'm kind of just reading to read. But if for some reason like this book just disappeared off my Kindle, I wouldn't care to finish it out, you know what I mean? So I'm reading it to read it, and I'm sort of invested in how it ends. It's not my favorite is the long and short of it. There's stuff going on. It's not like it's a bad book, but it's boring. It's like a bad book, but it's fun. So that's kind of where I am with it. And I'll probably try to finish it today. I am like 197 pages in or something like that. And I think it's 498 pages. So I have a decent bit to go, a little under half. But I feel like I should be able to finish it today. I want to start next week with some really good dark fantasy romances. I wouldn't say this is particularly dark, so I want to read some of the other things on my list that I feel like I'm actually gonna enjoy a lot. So I'm just kind of ready to get through this one. That being said, for the rest of the day I do have some side business stuff that I need to get done. It's probably going to take me several hours, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the day editing and watching Halloween movies. So I don't know if I'll talk to you for the remainder of the vlog. If I do not, I really hope you enjoyed it. I will catch you guys in my next one. All of my socials are linked down below. I'm trying to be a little bit more active on Instagram and Threads, so if you want to keep up with me, interact with me, see what I'm doing, all of those are linked down below as well. And I appreciate you for spending your time with me.